Hello, this is Leanne Maciel with Poets and Quants. Thank you all very much for joining us for the summer edition of our Online MBA event. I am very pleased to have three special guests with me for this session. They are each current Online MBA students, a couple just about to finish up. And they're here to share with us their experience, a bit about their respective programs, and their advice for you who may be looking at an online MBA in general or potentially their program specifically. So very much appreciate all of you, the three of you, being here with me today. I do want to let those of you who are watching live to know that if you do want to ask any questions of our panelists, you can use the chat or the Q&A function, and I will do my best to get to those. But I also know many of you will be watching this over weeks to come. So to get us started, I would love to start to get to know each of you and share a little bit about yourselves with our viewers. So Lynn, if we can start with you, would love for you to share who you are, your current industry and role, and a fun or interesting fact about yourself.
All right, very good. Well, thank you very much, Leanne. Good evening, everybody. My name is Lynn Isaac. I am a 30-year veteran of the transportation industry. So I serve as the Director of Project and Portfolio Management at the Texas Department of Transportation. And so roads and bridges are my business. And specifically, I support project managers delivering projects on the front lines here at the agency with training, support, guidance, and driving to consistency across the agency to, again, deliver our program to the citizens of Texas. And the program I'm in is with the University of Florida. It's a 2-year online program. And I think we'll be talking a little bit more about that. But a fun fact about me is I have been on America's Funniest Home Videos. So with my cats, and you may have seen them, the video has been around for a while. It's gone around the world and come back, and it's also been in a movie. So if you've seen the 5-year engagement, you may have seen my cats. So message me and maybe I can get you to the right link on that. So
I was going to say, if we Google, what could we Google to find that?
Oh, yeah, sometimes it's Kung Fu cats. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
That is a great fun fact. Well,
Okay.
thank you and welcome. Maggie, share a little bit about yourself with the group.
Absolutely. Thanks, Leanne. And I want to share Lynn's welcome this afternoon or evening, wherever you are. So I'm Maggie Kramer. I am the Foundation Director and Director of Philanthropy for the HSHS St. Vincent, St. Mary's, and St. Clair hospitals. We are 3 community hospitals in a system of 15 here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Packers. And I serve as essentially the chief strategist and executor for all of our philanthropic programs, physician engagement, and the distribution of any and all philanthropic funds raised in our community. And oh my, a fun fact about me, staying with the pet themes, Robert De Niro borrowed my dog and referred to her as, quote, a good one.
Okay, that's a good one. We might need a little bit more of that story later on after.
Happy to share.
Thank you very much as well for being here. And Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to have to go behind both you guys with a really, really good fun fact. I am Bobby Cunningham. I live in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I am a senior program manager with Boston Scientific, which is a major medical device manufacturer. With those guys, I help launch new products on the manufacturing side of the business, as well as develop governance strategies for the manufacturing operations groups. And I am in my first year at Kenan-Flagler. And as far as a fun fact about myself, when I was in elementary school, I was a very avid drawer, and I caught the eye of a teacher / local writer, and I ended up illustrating a children's book.
Wow. All right, we have some famous fun facts with this group. I love it. Well, great. It's great to have you all with us. Let's get into your thought process. You're at some point in your career, and I want to hear what point that was, that you started thinking about the online MBA. What led you to pursue the degree? Did you consider a full-time program, a different type of graduate business degree? Talk us a little bit through that process. And Bobby, I'll stick with you to start on this one.
Certainly. I made my decision to pursue an online MBA during the pandemic. All of us were realizing how essential it was to be online and go through online education, especially those of us who have kids. But also we start to realize how that experience can be engaging and enjoyable. And so I realized at that point that my career could flourish as well as expand by looking at an online education, as well as be able to still manage my work life, my work career, as well as my family life. And at that point in time, full-time simply wasn't feasible, but with respect to an online education, online program, I had the flexibility of not only being able to juggle the work-life balance, but also go to the school of my choice without having to uproot my family. So I spoke with a lot of my friends. I spoke with a couple of people and mentors who've attended online or full-time programs, rather, at Harvard and Ross, Michigan, and I talked to them about it, and they also agreed that an online program made sense because it's the way of the future. Everyone is going in that online and hybrid sort of experience, particularly in business schools. So I decided to take their advice and go ahead and take the leap.
Great, thank you. Maggie, what about you? What was your decision-making process like?
Not unlike Bobby, I started really considering things during the pandemic, though my seed was planted a little bit earlier. I am a former staff member at Chicago Booth. And so I was introduced to the MBA community through my time at Chicago Booth, and it's hard not to get caught up in their ethos. As I'm sure most people are familiar, Boothies like to very strongly claim that they are the best MBA alumni in the world, sometimes supported by poets and quants. And so that kind of got the wheels turning. But as a nonprofit colleague and a nonprofit staff member, I didn't really have access to the time or the resources in order to pause my career for 2 years and take on upwards of $150,000 in debt that I wasn't guaranteed to have reimbursed if I chose to stay in nonprofit. So I'm a Boston University undergraduate alumna and a really aggressive champion for my alma mater. And when I saw the program that Questrom was piloting, I thought, well, this is the perfect marriage of passion and education. I loved my undergraduate time. I could not think of something more delightful than going back to BU. And it had the same types of flexibility that Bobby was saying. I got to stay where I wanted to be in the Midwest, close to my family. I didn't have to uproot my life. And I was able to find a way to make it work with my full-time schedule without feeling like I was getting shortchanged or feeling like I had to completely put down my life, like a lot of my friends in part-time programs or weekend or evening programs had to.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. I love the double of BU.
Go Terriers.
Lynn, would you share a little bit about your thought process in pursuing the degree?
Absolutely. I have an undergraduate in civil engineering, and so I had goals all along through my career to augment my technical background with the business acumen that I would gain from an MBA. I went through a lot of my career and it had children and had all the family obligations. So the MBA took a backseat during some of those times in my career. But I would echo the others in saying the pandemic was definitely the catalyst to get me moving on getting my MBA. My husband had just finished his online MBA through a different university and had told me how much I would love it. And I did, notice what he was learning and saw a huge change in him and all that he gained from his MBA. So with that, the online worked for me. I wanted to explore. I live in Austin, Texas, but I go to school at the University of Florida, and I like the flexibility of being able to attend an out-of-state school from the comfort of my own home. And really keep myself busy and challenged during those times during the pandemic where I did have some extra time on my hands along with working full time.
Right. So there are a lot of schools outside of Austin. Why Florida?
I'm sorry.
I said there are a lot of schools outside of your state, but so why did you choose Florida?
Oh, yes. As any good engineer would do, I had a spreadsheet that had a matrix that helped me to decide, looking at all the different qualities I was looking for in a school and compared with, the ranking and the cost and the program that I was looking for, again, that online component. And I landed at the University of Florida being at the top of the list, and that's where I applied, and I really put my eggs in one basket there. But that's also being from Florida, that my undergrad is from South Florida, and I lived in the Tampa Bay area. I always wanted to be a Gator, so there's that too.
A lifelong dream.
Yes.
And Bobby, what specifically drew you to UNC?
Yep, certainly. Well, reputation first and foremost is very important to me. So when I looked at programs, I looked at all the rankings, UNC and a handful of other schools always rose to the top as far as programs I was looking for. And then I also wanted a program that had a variety of different concentrations. So when I get into those electives and I want to focus or concentrate on, let's say, finance or strategy or healthcare, I'd be able to do that. And UNC had the sort of concentrations that I was looking for. But really what sold me on this program in particular is talking with the administrators and people in finance and the counselors and alumni and current students and professors, and really getting the warm and fuzzies in terms of their experience and the way in which they had a passion about the program and how each other engaged one another and how they cherished their experiences. And I felt like I could contribute to that sort of program and get the same sort of feeling out of it.
Great. Thank you. So Maggie, let's start to get into the program specifically. So I would love to, for you to share a bit about the learning experience at Questrom. So what are the classes like? I know you're towards the end of your time there, but how many do you take at a time? How many can you take, and what did you do? And how do you interact with other students and professors in an online setting?
Absolutely. So Questrom's program is a little bit non-traditional in that instead of an individual class model, we have a module-based comprehensive kind of integrated model. So instead of choosing your classes around a concentration or around finance or change management, they have kind of condensed all of the most important materials within an MBA education and broken it down into 6 modules. So essentially all of the integrated modules cover a variety of topics under one specific umbrella. So we're in mod 6, which is referred to as fostering an innovative mindset. So it's a lot of design thinking, user experience, innovative thinking. How do you iterate within a team? How do you iterate within remote teams? And the great part about the module-based learning is that for me, I'm sure I am not alone when I say I was extremely anxious about the quant opportunities and the quant classes in an MBA. Again, came from Booth, which is, those are the quants right there. And I knew I was not them. So the integrated module approach has really alleviated a lot of the anxiety around those types of topics because they're very naturally woven into other topics and other course material items that really make things feel a little bit more like you're working in a professional environment and learning something new than necessarily sitting in a classroom and being talked at. So for me as a professional, the other real advantage of that module-based system has been that I can apply what I'm learning almost immediately. It's all real-world case studies. It's all an opportunity to be very kind of nimble based on where we are and what questions we have as individual students. One of the things I really will commend BU on is we didn't get the B team of professors. They didn't, decide to do an online program and hire a bunch of adjuncts. These are the real deal professors that the full-time and part-time students at Questrom are getting. They have just agreed to be a part of this experiment as well. So in terms of interacting with my professors, it's been just like it was when I was an undergraduate. They make as much time for us as you are willing to ask for. And as for interacting with other students, I joke all the time that if you put a group of adults together and call them students, many of them are going to act like children. Just happens, doesn't matter what age you are. So we have kind of naturally coalesce together as a cohort, regardless of the distance and the online learning. I've really found BU's approach to be extremely comprehensive to what we need to know as MBAs, but also affording us the collaborative and really kind of network and community building that you would have in a normal program as well.
Great. It's a great overview. Can you talk a little bit, I'm staying with you, around, team and project work versus individual work? What percentage would you say on average, and how does that generally work?
Absolutely. So it really does vary from mod to mod. Every mod, for the most part, has some sort of culminating capstone project that is primarily team-based. So they've really integrated the team-based opportunities from day one. And I think that they also provide us with all of the resources and tools to communicate with each other and to determine what works best for us. So we have, I think from a team perspective, something like mod 2, which is the quant heavy semester, I was shocked at how much I was able to really learn from and engage with my peers, because we did have a capstone project that, despite being the, regression equations heavy, statistics heavy semester, we had to learn and engage with each other in order to deliver a product that was going to actually get us a passing grade. So it was great to learn from people who had a stronger quant background than I did versus, say, me here in nonprofit. And in terms of individual work, I would say it lands at about a 60-40 balance most mods, with the leadership mod being much heavier in that teamwork based kind of structure, though there's never going to be a moment in any of the modules where reaching out to your peers and engaging with your classmates is not encouraged in some capacity. It really does foster that sense of teamwork very deeply.
Great, thank you. Lynn, let's move over to you and the learning experience at Warrington. So what are the classes like? How many do you take at a time? And what was the way that you communicated with other students?
We take 2 courses at a time. It is a pretty rigorous pace, and just to paint a picture, from January, starting in January, we're asynchronous from the rest of the students. So we started this year and last year as well, later in January, and we've had 1 week off, between courses, just this summer. And so the courses they drop on a Sunday, and, we can start tuning in, get the syllabus, and start just jumping into the coursework at that point. And it is a pretty fast pace. They're about 10-week sessions. And we have cohorts also, and we have about 50 people in our cohort, and we march along in the same courses for the most part throughout the program. The cohort is then broken down into teams, and the business school, I think it was randomly put us in with teams, but a lot of those teams have stuck and throughout the program. So we do have individual work. We do have throughout the program at UF, there are exams and honor lock proctor exams. So that was news to me, but I've learned. I think that would be one tip, is to keep an open mind, that you're gonna probably have to push yourselves a little bit to get through and learn some of the new educational pieces of the online aspect. But our groups, primarily the larger cohort corresponds with each other via a group that we have set up. And then we also have our smaller teams that we work really in MS teams to collaborate together. So the communication is there between the different levels between our professors and the cohort, and then our individual teams. And it is a very supportive environment. Although like I was mentioning, it is pretty rigorous as well. So we do have to really stay with the program and keep up to pace, and jump in there as soon as the course drops, and just roll up your sleeves and get going on it. So
great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby, tell us about the experience at UNC.
Yep, certainly. Similar to what Lynn was saying with regards to Warrington, our structure is 10-week quarters, essentially, and it's an asynchronous, synchronous work sort of mix, where you have about an hour and a half courses each week that you attend, the synchronized classes that are ran by professors or course coordinators or section leads. This is for the core curriculum courses. And then another, I'd say 2 to 10 hours worth of your time a week is focused on the asynchronous work and study. And so there's textbook reading, there's asynchronous videos, there's always asynchronous videos for professors, as well as individual assignments and then group projects. I'd say about a third of our classes involve group projects, and the rest of them are purely individualized work. Students tend to take about 2 courses a term, but generally when some kids start or some students start, they'll take 1 course, and then as they get into a rhythm, they'll go ahead and bump it up to 2. And it definitely takes some time to get up to a rhythm. Like Lynn was saying, our terms are very fast paced as well, just because of 10 weeks. So it takes a little bit of time, a couple of terms to kind of get up to speed. And then as far as the courses are concerned, every now and then they'll have a 1 hour, 1 credit course. They'll just pop up in registration. It's simply a single day, 1 credit course, 8 hours, and everyone jumps on registration, tries to log on and grab that course, because I mean, that's a great bargain. You can finish a class in 1 day and get that 1 credit. And those 1 credit courses really rack up and help out. And the courses that have the 1 credit, they're generally concurrent topics, current events, like environment, society, and governance, or ESG, things like that. Then as far as the split, as far as analytical and quantitative, or quantitative and qualitative, I'd say about a third of our classes are analytical, and the rest of them are quantitative. And the analytical ones, you'll find yourself in an environment like operations, where you're doing simulations with your groups. So you're getting together with your teams of about 3 or 4 on a weekly basis or so, running through various simulations, which could be either business scenarios, or it could be a competition within your team. And as far as the degree of analytical rigor there is, the great thing is that there's always help and assistance. The one thing that I really like about UNC's program is that with the most, let's say, intensive courses like financial accounting, they'll actually have refresher sessions and workshops on a weekly basis, where the course coordinators will come together virtually with all the students, or a large degree of students, and they'll go through the homework, or they'll go through the last couple of lessons, or they'll do prep for the midterms. Very similar to when we were in undergrad and we had TAs basically go through the professor's material like at the end of the week. And so I really like that environment. It also provides an environment for really people who didn't quite get the material to kind of walk at a slower pace and have the professor or the coordinator rather go through the material.
Great. All right, that's a great overview. You are all very good ambassadors for each of your programs. Let's talk about outside of academics. How does the program help to facilitate whether it's networking? Again, I understand you're doing group projects and you're supporting each other when necessary. Are there what kind of student organizations are available, or maybe each of you participate in? And how does the school kind of facilitate your interactions and networking with each other, with alums, with recruiters. Lynn, I will start with you on that one as well.
Right. So there are a lot of opportunities for a student to take advantage of through the UF program. And, you know, speaking specifically about the Career Development Office, they are very active with making sure that we are thinking about the future as we graduate and what that looks like, and providing us with opportunities for career fairs, whether they be virtual or in person, and resume updating, support for interviewing, connections to potential companies that are looking for MBA grads. So that office is very involved. And, you know, with that, there's also a plethora of other organizations. I have to say that I probably haven't personally taken advantage of all of those as I probably could, but you know, they are there, and the school is very good about making sure that we're aware of all of those opportunities and getting us as involved as we want to be throughout the program.
Right. Maggie, what about BU in terms of networking, alums, building community?
I always like to caveat when I'm asked this question, just so it doesn't seem like there's a plant on the panel, that in addition to being a BU undergrad alumna, I am a member at large of the BU Alumni Council and a founding member of the Young Alumni Council. So I have a lot of really positive feelings when it comes particularly to the alumni network at BU. I've said that pretty much every new start I've gotten in my career, whether it was my first internship to when I changed careers about 10 years ago, a BU alum was there to either grab my hand and help me up or push me. And so OMBA has very much adapted and adopted that ethos, where within the program itself, we have a variety of student groups. I'm a member of mentoring in OMBA, where we're paired with a later cohort member, and we can kind of help guide them through the process. I'm a member of Women in OMBA, where, you know, we've done panels and weeks on being a woman in business, being, you know, a woman in higher education, how do you change careers? I'm in OMBA Pride, so we have a really incredible LGBTQIA+ network. And I think one of the really incredible benefits of being a part of a school like BU is these all exist within the undergrad and on-campus graduate programs. So no one was really reinventing the wheel, but what I've found really incredible about the student groups within our OMBA cohort is what the students themselves have created that faculty and support staff didn't even consider, or maybe they thought no one would be interested. I am a part of nonprofit in OMBA, and the pervading conversation right now is how we want out of nonprofit. I joined investing in OMBA because that's an area where I'm really unclear and uncomfortable, and I'd love to learn from my peers in a non-threatening environment. I'm a member of healthcare in OMBA because while I'm not in administration or clinical, the more I understand and can engage with those peers from an OMBA perspective, the better equipped I am to deal with them within my own industry and my own organization. So I will say that Questrom has done a really fantastic job making us feel like we have the resources and ability to connect with each other the exact same way as we would have if we were on campus as a part-time or a full-time student.
You are one busy woman.
Yes, and slowly but surely I'm putting things down. And so I keep, everybody's like, what are you going to do when you're done with your last class? And I answer, nothing. I'm going to do nothing for the first time in my adult life.
It's great to try things, and you certainly are a testament of that.
Yes.
Bobby, can you share a little bit about the community and how that's fostered?
Sure. As far as student organizations are concerned, Kenan-Flagler really started taking a good look at the structure of these sort of student-run organizations back during the pandemic. It was a couple of years ago now where they formed the Student Advisory Council, which I'm a part of. And the rationale of putting that council together was to bring working professionals together and really look at how we can address the need of student-run organizations, as well as amongst other things. So we currently have a handful of clubs, both types of clubs that are on campus or virtual campus, are formal clubs as well as informal clubs. And so they're either very industry related or they're like, let's say, affinity group related. And what we do is we look at means of understanding these organizations and trying to understand how can we increase student participation in them? How can we develop funding models? Because there's a variety of different funding models these clubs use. How easy is it to start a club? Because there's various people who've asked for opportunities to create new clubs within that environment. One of the clubs I started recently was one that focuses on working professionals who are interested in working in or actually are in the field of consulting. And so the work that I do with the administration, as well as with the council, we find out how we can enable or increase the access that club members have to different tools that you build your skill sets that are used in consulting, as well as determining how we can partner with administration as well as corporate sponsors to develop networking engagements. They have a plethora of networking engagements within the full-time Kenan-Flagler MBA program. So we want to mirror and mimic a lot of that and make it available for working professionals as well.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about, so Bobby, I'm going to stick with you. So you're in the first year of the program. So far, what would you say are perhaps 3 things that are highlights or hallmarks of your experience to date, things that you know after you leave the program that you'll think back of, on fondly?
Certainly. It's going to sound cliche, but it's really the meeting and networking of all these incredible dynamic working professionals that I've come in contact with. I'm meeting people from like every sort of industry, every sort of walk of life, very cultural, diverse student body that we have with Kenan-Flagler with very varied professional backgrounds. And I'm sure the other 2 on the call will attest to your most valued learning experience is the experience you gain from other students, really understanding in certain situations how their organizations function and how they make decisions. My cohort that I'm a part of, which is about 170 some odd students or so, they're very open and they're very supportive. And that's one of the things that really resonated with me when I first started the program, because I was really concerned that when I joined the program, it would be difficult in terms of making inroads with other students and forming teams for various projects, things like that. But that hasn't been the case as well. Everyone is very supportive and open. As far as another hallmark, the program is challenging, but I think that the challenge is like the strong suit, I would say, because within the Kenan-Flagler online business program, you become like a real hardcore time management guru. And so you just learn how to manage your week by the hour. And you have to with this sort of program. And what it does is it pushes you on a week by week basis to get in front of the material, absorb and learn the concepts, get in touch with your students or with other students in the class or the teams that you have, and solve those classes or look into those scenarios and solve them with your classmates. And what it's really done for me is really affirm what I'm actually capable of. So I definitely appreciate the rigor and the challenge the program has. I'd say the last hallmark is the sort of tight-knit culture and feeling of family that the faculty and administration really develops, from the student advisors to the counselors to professors. Everyone has been very, very supportive ever since I started engaging with these teams. They've been really, really good partners along the journey. And what I really like is that they develop a very deep level engagement with you. And so like the student tuition or the tuition assistant advisor, she asked me about the weather in Minnesota. She asked me how my son is doing in Taekwondo. They all work to have these deep relationships with you. And if you have a counselor and you only have a 30-minute time slot, but you really need an hour and a half of their time, you'll work with them and they'll make that work. And I really like that. I like that a lot of the faculty that I've encountered, they really do listen to me, and they're really able to custom fit my schedule or accommodate whatever my needs are at the time. I really like that. And what I've noticed in my classes is that the professors and the coordinators, they're not just simply in class reading off of PowerPoint presentations. They're actually gauging our body language and the conversations that are going on. And if a topic seems to be going off kilter, or people's minds seem to be spinning because all the formulas being thrown at us, then the professors will do a course correct, or they'll start to adjust the material to attenuate to the audience to keep everyone engaged.
Great, thank you. Lynn, what would you say have been the highlights now that you are almost at the end of your experience?
That's a highlight right there. Yes. So definitely what Bobby had mentioned with the variety of people that I've gotten to know within the program. I have had the opportunity to work with people that all over the world and all over the North America. And the program has allowed for me to get out of the industry that I work within every day and to have that bigger perspective of what, the challenges are out there in other industries. And, it really has allowed me to, really get to know other industries and understand the challenges that they may have. So that would be one. Also, just the expansion of my knowledge as a working professional. You're never too old to learn, and there's always more to know. And I, probably came into the program thinking, I've got all this experience and I know a lot. And I did know some things, but not everything. And lo and behold, I really love corporate finance, and I would have never discovered that without the program. So the expansion again of that business acumen has been one of the biggest hallmarks. And then also the excitement and the re-engagement in learning and having that desire that I have to continue learning, having that fed through this program and having an outlet for creativity that, I may not have had at work. I was able to bring that in through the challenges I've had through the MBA program. So those are the three hallmarks that I'd like to highlight.
Great. And then Maggie, anything different? You echo some of the same things. What would you say?
I would echo the real kind of gem of all of this, particularly that surprised me in an online program, is really how connected I do feel to my peers and how many fantastic new connections and friends and, people in different cities. The one thing I would add is I'm a member of what we refer to as OMBA 1. So I was the first cohort. I'm a member of the guinea pig class of this program. And one of the things that has really blown me away is how much the administrators and learning facilitators and all of the staff at Questrom very much is willing to practice what they preach. So we're learning all of these things about scaling new ideas and change management and organizational development. And in real time, they're taking the feedback of us as the first cohort and changing things in real time. Not, okay, well, this is mod 2 for you, it'll be better for the next class. It's, well, how can we make it better for you now and make it better for the next class? So I think one of the hallmarks has just been, I walked into this program assuming that definitely that I did not know everything, but that I had an open mind and that I had a learning mindset and a growth mindset, and I didn't. I really didn't. I'm the type of person who assumed that if I'm good at something, it's easy for me. That's how I conceptualized really my entire educational career before this, from preschool through undergrad. If I was good at it, it was easy. And the OMBA program really broke me down in a way that made me recognize I don't know everything. If I'm bad at something, that's okay. it's an opportunity to be better at it. And then to watch a bunch of practitioners from the deans all the way down to our student success specialists live that credo and actually show us how to put it into practice was something that I stepped into my first leadership role, senior leadership role, about 2 months after starting OMBA. And I would have unquestionably been fired had I not been learning in real time and watching these practitioners also teach. And so I think that in addition, of course, to the people and the open mind and all of the learning, just that realization of pivot is okay. Pivot is good because it means you're probably pivoting into a better direction. This was a really important moment in my professional life for me to learn that, and that will never not be a gift that OMBA has given me.
Right. That's great self-awareness. I think a lot of times, especially with MBA, people are going in thinking about a career or a job or a role, and the the journey of just self-improvement and understanding what is really important to you and how you want to show up in not just work but in life is it sounds like that's been a part of your experience. So that's great.
And the CFO here doesn't think I'm a moron, so that's nice too.
Great. So we just have a few more minutes. So I just want to start to talk a little bit about your advice. As we were chatting before we started, and Maggie, I'm going to start with you on this one. I said, I love this group because there's a real depth and breadth also of professional experience, a number of years as working professionals. So Maggie, I would love for your advice to someone who might be further along in their career. They've been out of undergrad for years. They might have done many different things, and they might be thinking it's the idea of an online MBA is interesting, but is it worth it? Is it worth it to me at this point in my life, in my career, the time, the money, the investment? What would you say?
The easy answer is yes. The more detailed answer is yes, and particularly because I think having been out of undergrad for over 10 years, having already made a career shift, I started my career in film and television and pivoted to nonprofit. And I think, I guess harking back a little into my previous answer, the value and the advice is recognize you don't know what you don't know and have the opportunity to be confronted with that. Because I think that I'm at a very hierarchical legacy organization right now, and we are seeing a significant amount of C-suite level turnover simply because there are a lot of people who like the phrase, this is the way we've always done it. And I am just as guilty of that as a lot of other people. So I think my advice to someone who's, been out of undergrad, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I wish I could go back and say that to myself, because I assumed this would be easy, just like most other things had been. Mm-hmm. And so my advice is be honest, be authentic, and ask for help. It's one of the things that I think also is such a gift of an MBA is you can't do it alone. It's not an option, because your capstone requires you to work with 4 other people who you might not enjoy, but that's life, so deal with it. So I think, the idea of being comfortable with the unknown and being willing to say, I want to do this because I recognize I don't know everything and I want to know more.
Great, thank you. Bobby, your advice.
I know that for me, one of my concerned was being in a virtual classroom with, let's say, a virtual room of investment bankers, all in their 20s, and I didn't want to be in that sort of environment. I wanted to be in an environment with a room of a variety of people, a variety of different experiences, and that's exactly what I got. One of the things that I found profound when I started going to these classes is that everyone within Kenan-Flagler in all my classes, regardless of their age or where they are within, their careers, they decided within their own personal walk when the time was right to pursue that program. And so for a lot of people in the program, they're transitioning out of the military. And so they really want to have that foundational business experience if they want to go into entrepreneurship. Or people who've been working in a particular industry for a long time, and now they want to take the skill set and now do a complete transition, like Maggie was talking about, in a completely different industry, and really want to understand the fundamentals in terms of, if I go into accounting, or if I go into finance, or if I go into marketing, what's the basics that I need to know? What's the foundation that I'm missing right now? You have that opportunity, regardless of where you are in your walk of life or your age. Everyone who comes to the program knows what they want to get out of the program. So they've got a strategy, they've got an aim, they exactly know what they want to go with it. And I really appreciate that aspect. So with respect to that, definitely, I would say, don't be so much concerned in terms of where you are within your walk of life, and that this decision is the right decision for you to make that pivot, that transition, that let's say leap into an education environment, regardless of how long you've been out of it, because everyone else who's in that program with you are making those same sort of leaps of faith.
Right. And Lynn, the final word to you. Anything to build on what Maggie and Bobby have shared around advice?
Well, of course. And, just echoing the idea of grace and allowing yourself to have some grace as you get back into school, and understand that it is going to be uncomfortable. I love what you said, Maggie, about allowing yourself to feel uncomfortable. It is true, but, it can be done, and everyone is, it's new to everyone. And I found a lot of times, if I have a technical question, that others have it too. It's not just me. So, just allowing yourself to have that time to get up to speed, it has been important. And then understand that you have that, you're independent, but you have an interdependency with the people that are in your program, and to lean on others when needed, and to keep the communication up. That is definitely a way to make sure that, you're able to work through the program and work through the challenges that you may find. The online programs, especially, the UF program, is very flexible. And I've found through the course of time that I've been able to navigate through some big challenges in my life in the last 2 years, where I had unexpected medical conditions and, aging parents, and, some things that came up that I didn't expect. And the program was absolutely flexible enough to be able to navigate those and to continue on with my program, not skip a beat. And the online flexibility really does aid with the things that come up in life. So the last piece of advice is, if you're going to do it, I would suggest a separation between work and school. Even if it's a change of venue, also a separate computer and whatnot. So that was one little tidbit that's more granular there.
Yeah, but just as valuable. Lynn, Bobby, Maggie, you have all been wonderful. Appreciate your time, taking time out of your schedule to chat with our viewers. You are all really fantastic ambassadors for your school. But thank you to all of you for watching. I'm Leanne Maceo with Poets and Quants. Thank you.